Hey everyone, welcome back to the Bay State Golf Podcast. Today is a Q&A from questions I got from followers on Instagram. Before we get started, just a few quick plugs as usual, because I have a few different places on the internet where you can find my stuff. First, if you're looking for everything in one simple package, go to baystategolf.beehiiv.com. Beehiiv is spelled Beehiiv, and subscribe to my newsletter. If you're listening to the podcast, you can get the link in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, you'll have to just type it in because I can't leave links on YouTube. The newsletter goes out every Friday morning, and it includes links to everything I've worked on from the week, along with some favorite foods, drinks, articles, books, podcasts, songs that I've listened to and enjoyed during the week. If you've stumbled on this podcast and you have no idea who I am trying to play, photograph, and review every course in Massachusetts. You can follow my quest on Instagram at baystate_golf. I also post reviews and photos on baystategolf.com. Basically, I take my Instagram reviews, add a little bit of thoughts, turn them into posts with some more photos as well in some cases. Kind of easier to find those things, and they're organized better on the website. So if you're looking for a particular golf course that I might have played already, that might be the best place to go, baystategolf.com. And finally, please just take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening. If you're on YouTube, we'd love a subscription as well. And, that's kind of it. As usual, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone who asked questions. I've kind of got a running list, and I just picked out maybe 10 that I thought would be worth answering today. I might answer some extras on Instagram in my stories, and just keep them coming. I'll keep asking for them. But it's nice to have kind of a pool of questions to pull from. Gets me thinking about some different things and gives me some ideas for possible posts on Instagram and videos on here, or new places to go play, or just jogs some memories free as always, which is always a good thing. So let's get to some questions and my answers from podcasts and Instagram followers. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so I organized these as best I could so they're in some categories or just kind of build on each other as we go through here. Some I'll answer pretty quickly. Some might need a little bit more thought. First question is from New England Golf and Grub, who is an Instagram account that I just found recently. I think he's also a teacher or a former teacher, and he's doing some stuff around golf and also food you can find near and around golf courses and just grub in general. So go check him out. He asked a question that I get asked basically every time I tell people about this, and it is just, how long will this quest take you? So I started in 2020 at 0. There's about 350-ish courses in Massachusetts that are kind of recognized golf courses. I am not counting, par 3 courses. I am counting 9-hole golf courses. So it's about 350 in that total, and I'm at 118. So my goal was to just do this in the 2020s, and I figured it would take me about a decade. That feels about like the pace I'm on. I'm a third of the way done, almost exactly, with 118. And the other thing, I've talked to people, and I'm trying not to get too caught up in, having a time frame. And I'll get to that a little bit too. Some people ask me how I plan my years and what courses I want to play. But I think just kind of trying to play as many courses as I can each year, chipping away, and not having a real firm end date. Obviously, there might be some summers that I get a bunch of golf play. There might be some summer where I have an entire summer to just play golf because I found a way to kind of make that work. But I'm assuming it'll take me about a decade to get through. I've got a lot of miles in front of me and a lot of hours on the golf course. And I'm trying to be thoughtful about how I plan out my summers, just as far as long trips and easy golf courses to check off as well. So thanks, New England Golfing Grub, for that one. Hopefully in 2029, 2030, I will be moving on to doing something different in the world of golf and crazy quests. Next question comes from two people who kind of asked the same question, J. Paul Golf and Notorious SPG. They asked me, what courses are you most looking forward to playing in 2024? I don't plan very often ahead. If I do plan, it's because someone is kind enough to ask me to play a place, and sometimes that's a month in advance, sometimes that's a day in advance. I try not to get my sights set on specific golf courses that I'm going to play. Public-wise, I always have a few in the back of my mind that I would love to go and play that might be a little bit farther afield, that would take, a day trip to get to. Or I try to maybe figure out, if I'm going here, what's another place I can play. For example, last year I played 3 courses in a day, which turned out to be 36 holes because 2 of them were 9-holers. So that's more how I plan. I try to just look at the weather, and I try to pick out a day during the week that I know I can get out and maybe play. Fridays are usually kind of a sweet spot for me, just to kind of get everything done during the week and get out and play on a Friday morning and avoid weekend golf, which can be pretty tough to get out and play public golf on the weekends. I don't do it all that often. I typically just try to get some golfing done during the week. I'm not against weekend golf, but it's typically an entire day at this point with the travel that I might take. And golf just at this point takes 5.5 hours to play 18 holes. And I don't really love that that's my kind of mentality around that, but that's just kind of what it feels like, what it is. And that's too bad. But so that's kind of, so looking forward to courses. I don't have a lot of places I'm looking forward to playing. There are a couple places in my mind that would be great to play this year. And one is on the private side, and that's Worcester Country Club. I've played Worcester Country Club a bunch of times. My family joined the course when I was a freshman in college back in 2002. And I remained a member for a little bit after I graduated from college. I was a junior member on my own. And then it just became kind of too taxing to be living in Boston. I was going to grad school in the summer, and I just wasn't playing enough golf out there, and kind of did the math and realized I needed to kind of pull something off the table. And unfortunately, Worcester Country Club was the thing that I had to pull off the table. So I've not been back there, in probably about a decade now. I know they just did a huge renovation on the golf course. I am really excited to go and play that whenever I get to play it. But that would be kind of a really great thing to see in 2024. And then on the public side, the Ranch and Crump Fox, both kind of out west, are definitely on my short list of places that I want to drive to and play this year that are a little bit farther away. Next question from Longmeadow Deeds. What is your number one must-have for a golf course in terms of the course itself? Good question, and it got me kind of thinking about a few. He asked for number one, and I came up with 3 in classic form, kind of indecisive to just land on one. But I landed on 3 that hit at different points of the day. The first thing for me as a number one, or something I really look for, is just before I even tee off, am I able to walk the golf course? I've talked about this a bunch. This is nothing new. But, forcing me to ride a cart is kind of a ding right away. And that can be for a number of reasons. That doesn't necessarily have to be because they're routing. It could just be because they're trying to get people around the golf course. They're trying to make an extra little bit of money. So you can, and then once you get out there, you can kind of tell, like, okay, they're asking us to ride a cart because these walks between greens and tees are horrendous, and it would take a really long time to play 18 holes because you're walking almost 9 holes of golf between greens and tees when you add it all up. And then some places you go and play and you realize I could have walked this golf course, and that's too bad they made me ride. So just the ability and the and being allowed to walk matters a lot to me. Then while playing, I think the things that I like about a golf course is just like variation of holes. So am I standing on a tee box thinking have we already played this hole, or we've already we've seen a similar hole? That can happen once or twice in a round because that's how golf works, and you're going to be in places that the holes just maybe blend together a little bit. And then I also want to feel like I'm hitting some different shots. Am I hitting, driver 7-8-9 or driver 8-9 wedge over and over and over again? That's also not super fun in my mind, and doesn't really kind of strike a chord with me when I'm playing. I love finishing a hole and wondering if I could have played it differently. So that's always a kind of a measurement for me too. As I walk off a green, how many times as I walk off the 18 greens am I thinking like, oh man, I could have hit driver. And the whole kind of visually as I was standing on the tee box made me think I need to hit a short iron. Or man, I should have hit a short iron, or I'm sorry, I should have hit a long iron instead of driver, or I should have hit a hybrid, or I kind of made a choice that if I could go back and play it again, I might play it a little bit differently. And that isn't necessarily because I've never played the course before and there was a water hazard that I didn't know about. It's more just kind of that strategy around standing on the tee. And then for me, the best holes are the ones when you're on a tee box and maybe you're with some buddies and some people have played the course before. People have played it a bunch of times and they've said like, I've tried it this way and I've tried to play it this way and I still can't quite figure out how to play it. The more holes like that, I like just kind of engages you versus pulling off your driver head cover and letting it rip. And so a hole I've written about the 16th hole at Boston Golf Club as one of those holes. It's got the principal nose bunker kind of smack in the middle of the fairway. So you really do have a choice. You can hit driver and bomb it up near the green. You could hit a 4 or 5 iron and leave it short and have a longer club in. But like I love those kind of holes. So that's another must have as I'm playing the golf course. Like how is it engaging me? How is it making me think about shots I have to hit into greens and off of tees? And then finally, when I'm done, kind of the top thing I think about is, can I remember the routing? Does it pass the car test? If I am driving home, I typically, the first 10 minutes, will just kind of go through the round in my mind. Again, I'll go through the holes. And there are times when even right when I get in the car, I have a really hard time remembering some of the holes. And that typically happens in the kind of the middle chunk of the round, right? So once you get through the first 2, 3, 4 holes, those are all kind of memorable. You're jazzed up. You're looking forward to the round. You're kind of getting into it. Those ones are going to stick in your mind. Typically like 15, 16, 17, 18, you'll remember. You can kind of think about the round backwards. They weren't that long ago as you're driving home. Maybe it was just an hour ago in the past, hour and a half. So those ones are easy to remember. It's those middle holes that can kind of get tricky. And I know that the course kind of lost me if I have to actually think backwards through the round to remember holes, 12, 13, 14, because we made the turn and we played 10 and I can remember 10 and then 11, 12, 13, 14 kind of blend together, or 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 blend together. You get those kind of things. So that's for me, the last piece is just, does it pass that car test? If I sit down a week later, or how long ago can I still remember the holes and the routing and kind of walking my way through the golf course? There are some golf courses I played at the very beginning of this quest, and I can go through the whole thing. I've only played there once or maybe twice. And I played Thorny Lee as the first course in June of 2020. And I can still recall every shot and every hole on that golf course. I think I might have played there maybe twice before that day. So that's kind of one of those places. And there's other places that kind of just all blend together and you're not quite sure what hole is which, or you get holes mixed up. So for me, those are my three things. First, before I tee off, am I allowed and able to walk the golf course? Two, while I'm playing, am I hitting a variation of shots? Do I have different tee shots to hit, or am I always just kind of like pulling driver and letting it rip? And then finally, can I remember the routing? Does it pass the car test on my way home? And maybe on the other side, does it pass the car test on my way to the course if I'm playing it again? Is there a shot or a hole that I'm looking forward to playing? Might be the fourth thing there. So great question, Longmeadow Deeds. Appreciate it. I really like that one. MDD31 asked about Western Mass courses worth the drive from Boston. So I know that Western Mass people are a prideful bunch and they love their golf out there. And I think they get short shrift. And frankly, I think they are very right because there's some good golf out there. There's also big pockets of Western Mass that don't really have a ton of golf at all. But the golf that they do have is pretty strong. And I'm going to give three. Two of them I've already talked about. And I know they're worth a drive. I haven't checked them off the list yet during the quest, but I have played them before 2020. And those two courses are Crump and Fox and the Ranch, which I mentioned earlier. Awesome courses. They're not West Mass, but they are out there. They're going to take you maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to if you live in Boston, maybe 4 hours. Who knows what the traffic is like or whenever you're choosing to go. But Crump, Fox, and the Ranch are two ones for sure. And then my favorite, Taconic, is 1,000,000% worth the drive. It's 1,000,000% worth a weekend trip to Williamstown to play it a couple times. It is pricey, so maybe playing it a couple times might be a hindrance to the to the wallet. It might hit the wallet a little bit harder than you would like on a weekend. If you know an alum or a member, they can actually help you get a discount, whether it's playing with them on the day you play or just having them be help you get on and you're an unaccompanied guest. There are discounts that go with that. I played Taconic the first time. I think I paid full boat in 2020 and it was $150, maybe $175. It's gone up since then. I think it's $200 now. I played it this past summer with a member and it was $60. So if you can find someone who's a member, who is an alum, who might have a student at Williams, the college. When I say alum, that's what I mean. Williams College. It's the Williams College Golf Course in Williamstown. So Taconic, absolutely unbelievable to go play. They are hosting the Mass Women's Am this year too. That might be in August. So if you could get out there late July, early August, you might see it in really, really, really great shape. So those are my three: Crump, the Ranch, and Taconic. There are a ton of other golf courses out there. I have just not played a bunch, and there's a bunch in Central Mass too. But if we're talking, you're putting some mileage on the car to get out west. Those three are certainly picks. Also, if you have any other answers to these questions, if you've got golf courses that you love, if you're on YouTube, stick it in the comments. If you are listening on Apple or on Spotify, send me a DM, send me an email at sean@baystategolf.com. Always looking to collect other thoughts and other people's. These are my opinions, and everyone has their own opinion about golf, which is what makes it so great. So many options and so many things and so many places that I've never played. So if you've got an answer to one of these, or you think like, man, Western Mass golf, here are some other places you've got to see, or at least give a shout out to, please send them my way. No Regrets Bets, next question here, asks about driving ranges, kind of just anywhere that I like to go. I have three. One is purely indoor, and that's Pure Drive in Woburn. I live kind of on the northern part of the city, so for the most part, it's an easy drive. Sometimes getting back into the city can be a little bit of a nightmare, but it's a 15-minute drive. It's in Woburn. They have 5 different bays. Prices are pretty reasonable. I think for an hour and a half, it's $80. And I've gone a few times this winter with a 6 a.m. time. So I book the first time, I get up, I drive up there. I get a coffee and I hit balls for 60 to 90 minutes, depending on what I have time for. The downside of that is the drive home can be a bit of a nightmare. It can take 45 minutes to get home, but Pure Drive is great. If you're in the city, 5-iron golf is also really good. I have not been there this winter. I went a handful of times last winter because I got their founding membership, which was a pretty good deal. And that's another good spot. Gets super kind of like party vibes at night. But if you're looking to go and practice and you have some time during the day, 5-iron golf is a good option if you live in the city. And then Core Golf is where I get lessons. I really like Core Golf. They have TrackMan on all their bays, so you get carry and total yardage with every shot you hit, which is pretty sweet. You just need the TrackMan app, and it stores everything for you, so you can really get some good practice in if you're looking to kind of grind or figure out numbers or all that kind of stuff. And then another one that gets super busy. I don't know if people realize it's there. Maybe people do because it's busy, but Brookline Golf Course has a driving range, and they also, I think another thing is just finding a public golf course near you that lets you just chip and putt. At Brookline, you can go and you can just chip and putt at Brookline at Putterham, and that's a really nice perk. There are times when I'm kind of going up towards the North Shore, and Sagamore Springs is another one that has a driving range, and they have actually a practice green that's pretty good. It's usually pretty quiet, and you can go and practice and have a little bit of peace and quiet. And they also have a bunker, so you could practice some bunker shots. So that's another pretty good spot just north of the city in Linfield that has an okay practice facility that is reasonably priced or completely free. If you just want to go and bring 10 balls and chip and putt for an hour, they will not bother you. They have never bothered me while I'm there, as far as wondering what I'm doing. So those are kind of my options for you. Pure Drive. This is kind of mostly north of the city because I'm a north of the city person, and getting through the city to go play golf isn't always ideal, especially if you just have an hour to practice. So Pure Drive, 5-iron golf, Core Golf, which is in Natick, kind of just out the Mass Pike for me. Brookline Golf Course would be the ones, and then Sagamore Springs up in Linfield. So thanks, no regrets bets for that question. Will McAuliffe, the brother of a former coworker of mine who I played George Wright with this year, he asked favorite public courses outside of Massachusetts. So we're going to leave Bay State for a little bit here. I've got a few. I'm just going to quickly list them off. Some are close to home, and some are far from home. I really like Triggs. I've played it one time. I got to go and photograph it, fly the drone for a magazine piece I wrote for New England Golf Journal, and just really thought it was a charming, good golf course. I've also walked it during a U.S. Challenge Cup event last March when it was cold and windy and gray. But seeing it in June in the summertime, I know that people are going to complain about the pace of play. I think that's probably a complaint that most people are making about most places these days. But Triggs is really good. It's in Providence. So if you kind of live south of the city, or if you live just in southern Mass or eastern Connecticut, like Triggs is a really good option. Newport National, a little bit on the pricier side, if we're going to be honest. I've played it a couple times in the last handful of years. Another just really good golf course. It's on a pretty flat piece of land, but a lot of bunkers to avoid, a lot of kind of Cape style holes where you can cut corners or you can play it safe. Greens are really good. It's in really good shape. Super simple clubhouse and almost like a double wide trailer kind of feel. So it's they kind of are focusing on the golf. Interesting start. I think you start par 5, par 4, and then back-to-back par 3s. And then you kind of get out into the open. And just a really, really good golf course, but it's a little pricier than kind of your typical public. Another one that's a little pricier that I like in Vermont is Montcalm. Really good. Used to be private and is now kind of semi-private public golf. Dartmouth College is it's their home course now that shamefully Hanover golf course was shut down, which is another pod for another day or another rant. But Montcalm is really good. It's about 90 minutes from Boston, and just you can go and you can play, and you could kind of make a day of it and enjoy some kind of wacky, crazy mountain golf. One of those places that does make you ride if you're a first-time player. So they made us ride, but we were fine riding that day in particular because we were coming off of playing 54 holes in the last day and a half. So the carts were kind of a welcome respite for our legs and for our brains and everything else. So Montcalm, very good. And then we're going to go south, a little bit farther south than New England. I'm going to throw out Charleston Muni. I'm wearing a shirt right now from there. The Muni is an amazing, amazing golf course in Charleston. Affordable, incredible golf. I've played it twice, and they have renovated it recently. Troy Miller went in and did some Seth Rayner inspired greens and built out some of the template holes. So it's just wild because you're playing like Muni golf, tee to the front of the green. It's it's pretty shaggy, and then you get these incredible bunkered greens. You get punch bowls. You get a Redan hole. You're playing a Cape hole. You're playing all these Rayner templates because Rayner built a bunch of golf courses in Charleston, so it's a little bit of an homage to him. So if you're in South Carolina or you're playing Kiowa or you're doing one of those trips, play Charleston Muni either on the way from the airport if you're going down to Kiowa or on the way home or whatever. But Charleston Muni is awesome. Another one I played, which is in Virginia, in Richmond, is Belmont. An interesting story behind Belmont. Used to be an 18-hole golf course, hosted the only major championship in Virginia history. Sam Snead won it, PGA Championship in the 1950s. It was known as Hermitage Country Club back then. It is now a public golf course that Davis Love came in and kind of redesigned and took the 18 holes and made them 12-hole golf course, and then built a 6-hole short course. So you can play 18 holes, but it's 12 really good holes. They're not short holes. It's not a par 3 course, an executive course. You're playing 12 full-size holes. It's like, I've said this a lot, 12 holes is such a sweet spot for golf. And I've just noticed a lot of pace of play challenges come on par 5s and whatever, but also you just start to see people grind slowly to a halt on holes 13, 14, 15. It's a long time to be out there. So 12 holes feels really good. You can play 12, you can play 18, you can play 24. The particular day I went with my buddy Tung, who has been on this podcast. Shout out Tung. He caught the golfing bug a few years ago, and on my way down to Pinehurst by car, I stopped for a night in Richmond, and we played Belmont. We played 30 holes, so we played the 12-holer twice with the 6 holes in the middle. It was great. Great day. It was 1,000,000 degrees, but really cool golf course if you're in Richmond, in that area. Go check it out. And then lastly, I mentioned Pinehurst. This Belmont stop was because I went to Pinehurst. Go to Pinehurst. Go play Pinehurst number 2. Go play Pinehurst number 4. Again, very pricey, but if you're going to play public golf far away, those are maybe some of the options. If you're just bringing your clubs intentionally and you want to go play somewhere. I don't play a lot of golf outside of New England or outside of Mass, but Pinehurst was a trip that my wife and I took in 2022, and it was kind of my first real golf resort feel trip where you just park your car and you have surrounded by golf, and it was awesome. So Pinehurst, go play number 2, go play number 4, go play the Cradle, go hang out. But Pinehurst is excellent. So thanks, Will, for that question, getting us out of the New England and Massachusetts state of mind for a little bit. Polly's Cards 44 asks quite a loaded question. I kind of love it. Challenged me a lot because Donald Ross has 1,000,000 golf courses in New England, and I'm going to stick this question to just the Bay State as Bay State Golf. He asked, what is my favorite Ross private and my favorite Ross public golf course? So let's start on the public side. There's a few options here, and I am picking, and again, I think asking about favorite versus the best, I don't think Franklin Park is the best public golf course that Donald Ross designed. But for me, it's my favorite. I could kind of be a contrarian, or not even a contrarian, just kind of mail it in and say, well, Pinehurst number 2 is my favorite. It's public. That would be the Golf Digest way to go. I am not doing that. So I'm going to say Franklin Park is my favorite. Is it the best? No. Is it the best in Massachusetts? Probably not. I think if you want to have a conversation about the best, George Wright is probably a better golf course than Franklin Park. But if I've said this, I've written this, if you gave me 10 rounds between those two, I'm playing Franklin Park maybe 6 or 7 of the times and George Wright 3 or 4 of the times. That's kind of how I'm breaking it down. I just love Franklin Park. It hits all the points that I talked about earlier, where I am able to walk. I can also walk George Wright. I'm playing a variation of holes, hitting a bunch of different shots. And at the end, the place is ingrained in my mind, and I want to go back and play. George Wright, I love George Wright, but playing George Wright, when I finish and I'm eating that hot dog on the patio, I'm not itching to go back onto the first tee and whip around again. It's just an ass kicker, which makes it maybe a better golf course. But my favorite is Franklin Park. Go play Franklin Park this summer. My favorite Ross Private is more of a nostalgic choice, a place I know very much like the back of my hand. Sometimes I play it like I know it like the back of my hand, and sometimes I play it like I've never met it before. Concord Country Club. Super underrated, amazing golf course. I've got to play it a bunch growing up. I had friends who were members, and this place is just exceptional. It is so challenging. You have to hit every shot. Greens are amazing. I'd say the par 3s are probably the one thing that they're very good, but they're not like outstanding. I think Ross has a better sets of par 3s in Massachusetts. But as far as my favorite, as far as a place that I could play every day, a place that I get excited to play once a summer, and that's in the Dawson. So I get to play it in a competitive situation. I'd love to be able to play it, not trying to grind and make pars and birdies, and just enjoy it without, greens being super fast and all the other stuff. But Concord is definitely my favorite Ross. Again, is it the best? Probably not. I think Essex you could make an argument for sure, and maybe even I think we'll get to a couple other courses later that I'm not going to name right now, but Salem, right? Another one I've never played. I've only walked Salem. So as far as my favorite Ross that I've played is one I've played the most, and that's Concord Country Club. Love the place. Don't turn it down and invite if you get one. The next question is from, I'm going to probably mess this one up because I'm not quite sure. It's by Anya Shah 13. And just asked a real simple question. I'm going to give a real simple answer. Best winter golf spots, and I'm going to give you 3. North of the city, I'm going to give you 4. No, I'm going to give you 3. North of the city, go play Cape Ann. It's 9 holes. Great golf course. It's kind of maybe a little far away, so maybe I will give you a 4th if you're kind of a Boston person. Cape Ann's a little bit of a trek, and so are the other 2 I'm giving you. Closer to the city, Mount Hood is pretty good, especially just as like a winter golf. If you're just looking to go play some golf, Mount Hood and Unicorn. So I'll give you 5 in all. I can't help myself. So Cape Ann, Mount Hood, and Unicorn. Unicorn is in kind of on the Stoneham, Woburn line. Cape Ann is up in Essex, and Mount Hood is in Melrose. So those would be probably the 3 that I would pick out that I've played. I know there's a bunch more that are open that I have not played, but those 3. And then south of the city, Cape Cod Country Club is kind of a great winter spot to go play. And so is Crosswinds in Plymouth, which has 27 holes of really good golf that I think is a great place to go play any time of year. All these 5 courses are. But if I were to kind of rank, even just if you're going to go play a place in the summer, Crosswinds and Cape Cod Country Club are outstanding places. So those would be my winter spots. Cape Ann, Mount Hood, Unicorn, Cape Cod Country Club, and Crosswinds. I know there are a ton more. Those are the 5. If you've got some, let me know. Okay, Blake Dinwoody asks, golf trips and weekend trips that are kind of worth the time within. I tried to stay inside of Massachusetts and give one outside of Massachusetts. First, I said it already, I'll say it again. Go play Taconic, get in your car and drive out there. You can stay for the weekend. I have not done the 36 holes and in the Williamstown area, but you can play Taconic, and then you can go, and just down the road, like 10 minutes away, is Wapika Golf Club. Maybe Golf Links is what they call themselves, which is kind of a funny name, but we'll leave that for other people to debate. Wapika is also really pretty solid as a public golf course. So if you're looking to make a trip out to Taconic worthwhile, you could absolutely go play Taconic and play Wapika. There's a couple nice places to stay out there. You could also just get an Airbnb or whatever. But 2 places that we have stayed, the Williams Inn, which is kind of always booked up now. We used to like staying there during COVID. It had just opened in maybe March of 2019. So they were barely open for maybe a year before the pandemic hit. So they were hurting for customers, and we liked going out there because it felt like we were getting out of the city and not having to leave Massachusetts, which was a thing you were kind of not allowed to do back in 2020. So you could check out the Williams Inn. There's another place called Tourists, which is in North Adams. It's just across from the airport in North Adams. But like really, really a good weekend trip because you can go play Taconic, you can play Wapika. There's a couple good restaurants. You can go to Bright Horizons. Bright Ideas. Bright Horizons is not a place you'd want to go on the weekend because I believe that's a preschool facility that is all over the country. But Bright Ideas is an outstanding brewery that's right next to Mass Mocha. So there's a bunch of stuff there to do outside of simply playing golf. So there's some cool culture. There's a Williamstown Theater Festival as well. So you could kind of plan something that even if you had a non-golfer in your life that just wanted to go away for the weekend, you could play golf in the morning and you could spend the afternoon doing a bunch of different stuff. The Clark Museum that's in Williamstown is also really good. So that's a really good stay and play 36 holes, maybe even 54 if you're feeling, if you're just solely a buddy's trip. Go get beers at Bright Ideas. They sell crowlers, these like giant cans of beer, all really good stuff. So that's one trip I would encourage people to go check out and do. And then another one, which I've never done, so I've played the golf course, but Crump and Fox has an inn. They have the inn at Crump and Fox. So you could conceivably drive out that way if you're, traveling a little bit longer than you'd like to for a day trip. You could play 2 rounds of Crump and Fox and stay at the inn at Crump and Fox. So another trip you could make and have kind of a solid place to stay would be that trip. So Crump and Fox, go play the inn at Crump and Fox. And then finally, a trip that I did do, and it's outside of Massachusetts. You got to drive north a little bit, but in the summer of 22, my friend Tung flew up from Richmond, and then 2 buddies from Boston. We all drove up to play. Man, what did we play? 72 holes in a weekend. We played on Friday. We played Woodstock Inn golf course. It was a good kind of starter golf course just to kind of get us into the mode of playing and getting up there. And we were able to play, finished just before dark, got a meal, went to bed, and then had 2 rounds on Saturday at Quechee Club. We played the Highland course, and then we played the Lakes course. This is a private golf course that if you stay in Quechee, you have a little bit of a priority on tee times if your host is a member. So they could kind of help you out, get a tee time, or you could just wait 3 or 4 days in advance and get probably a later tee time in the afternoon. We were lucky enough to have someone help us get the morning tee time, and then we booked the afternoon tee time on our own. And really, two really good golf courses. And then on the drive home on Sunday, we stopped and played Montcalm. So that was 72 holes. Pretty good golf trip. Not super expensive because it's not really an expensive part of the country, and it's not a golf destination. So you're not getting gouged to kind of stay in an Airbnb near in Quechee. But Quechee's a lovely town and another place where there's like really good food and other things to do. And so that's another one I would recommend. So those are my three kind of ideas if you are looking for stuff. I haven't really done a lot of Cape stuff. I've done day trips down to play 36 holes down there, but I haven't done any kind of stay and play or spend a weekend down there to play a bunch of golf. So I can't really speak to that part of the state as far as a trip like that. Underrated private courses. Mo Money Mo Shot asked this question. Loved it. I loved this question. And I'm going to give you the ones that I've played, except for one. But I've played all of these golf courses, just not all during the quest. So for me, man, these are all Donald Ross courses too. I apologize for that, but that's just the way it is, I guess. I was super impressed with Cohasset Country Club down in Cohasset on the South Shore. Just a simple, solid golf course, really good final stretch. 16th hole is maybe one of my favorites I've played in the quest. Just you're playing between these huge rock outcroppings, and the golf course just kind of winds and weaves and is pretty simple. It's kind of crammed. You get some spots where you're like, man, this is pretty tight. And you have the 7th and the 8th holes are not great. Like, not great golf holes. Feels like you're playing Florida golf a little bit. Just some marsh running around it, super tight, super narrow. But overall, I really liked Cohasset. It was in great shape. Just kind of a low-key. Membership was very nice. So Cohasset is one. Plymouth Country Club. So good. So good. I've been fortunate enough to play there a few times. And I think some people kind of turn the nose up at it because it's a par 69. It does not matter. That place is so challenging. If you get it on the wrong day with the wind blowing or the greens rolling, it is a really good test. The Hornblower is there every early June. If you live in that area and you just want to go out and watch good golf, go to the Hornblower. It's usually the first or second weekend in June. Kind of kicks off amateur golf in Massachusetts for the year. Really good field. It's just an awesome event. Last year it was like 90 degrees the first day, and then it didn't even get out of the 40s the second day. It was a crazy stretch of weather. So Plymouth Country Club, awesome. That's another underrated one that just doesn't get enough love. Worcester Country Club, I'm going to put on this list because it is slowly creeping up on people's radars, but it is so exceptionally good. It's in Central Mass, but if you just moved it, 20 miles closer to Boston, I think it would just be on more people's radars and more higher up on rankings and all that stuff. And it's really good. Vesper Country Club, another Ross in kind of up in the Lowell area. And I think it's in Tingsboro officially. But it's kind of just on that line. Just another outstanding Ross with a bunch of good holes, really good greens. If it gets dialed up, probably super hard. I think I played it a bunch when I was younger, and I played it once. I checked it off on my quest in an October round. Kind of a really great fall golf course. First hole is drivable. You just get up, you can rip driver. Again, you could also hit a long iron off the tee and have a wedge into this really crazy green to start. Some really nice green to tee walks. You cross some roads to get to little pockets. I think there's one stretch that doesn't kind of fall flat, but it's not the best. It's kind of around like maybe it's 10, 11, you just play this little triangle of holes. 9 is a good par 3, but then like 10, 11, 12, just a little bit of a lull, and then you get back kind of into the main part of the golf course, and it's just really good. So Vesper Country Club, awesome, love it, super simple place, and just really enjoyed my day there. And then another Ross, we're going out kind of central again, is Oak Hill. Oak Hill in Fitchburg is just, I played it in, late in the season, and it's an interesting one because you've got Styles Van Cleek on the front, you've got Ross on the back, you've got some really tight corridors. I would love to play it when there's no leaves on the ground, a lot of trees, and there's a few holes where if you get stuck in the trees and the leaves are down, like, you're not finding your golf ball. My fault for hitting it there, but I'd love to see it kind of in full bloom. And when, the leaves on the trees make things harder too, because the playing corridors get smaller, especially on holes like 11 and 12 and 14, the back nine. And the back nine is tough, maybe one of the tougher nines in the state. So Cohasset, Plymouth, Worcester, Vesper, and Oak Hill would be kind of my underrated private courses. And then kind of another level down from there of publics that I think were very good and I was pretty impressed with, and I would definitely go back and play again, are Haverhill, which I managed to get on. They have a little window of time in October, there might be a week or just a day. I'm not entirely sure, where public can play the golf course. And I thought it was pretty good. It's not great. There's a couple holes that you feel like like I said earlier, you're maybe playing the same hole, but as far as a pretty good course, it feels maybe like it's underrated a little bit or just under the radar. Haverhill, Thorny Lee, where this whole thing all started, is also a course that just maybe doesn't get enough attention. It's in Brockton. Incredible membership as far as players, maybe the strongest in the state. Mass Player of the Year award winners in Shannon and Shannon Johnson and Matt Parziali. So those those two, and then just the fact that it's a good golf course, and it's one I would recommend anybody go play. And then finally, a course that I got to play in a qualifier, very claustrophobic, but kind of sneaky good, is Fall River. I liked Fall River. And again, this is a next level down because it had some kind of little pockets of holes that I didn't love. The routing, they had changed the routing on us during the qualifier they were doing some construction, and we had to cross a railroad track at a different point in the round. So we played the course kind of in a different order, I think, than typical. But some really good holes out at Fall River too. So those would be kind of another level down below Plymouth, Worcester, Vesper, Cohasset, and Oak Hill. But Haverhill, Thorny Lee, and Fall River are pretty solid private golf courses in the area for sure. And finally, last question as we kind of hit the 50-minute mark of me talking here. Just this is a question I get asked a lot. There are a bunch of different answers to this question, and I've kind of answered it in a bunch of different places, but I thought it would be worth just putting on here. And the answer will probably change again if I answered it again next year. But Jack Lawler 8 is the one who posed the question in this regard. How do I get onto private golf courses? And there's no kind of magic bullet for this. There's a kind of a bunch of different ways I've done it. First off, just knowing people, right? I think even Jack or someone has asked this question to me before, and it's, they put in quotes like, is it just knowing the right people? And in some respects, it is just knowing the right people, and having connections to some of these golf courses is just completely dumb luck, or people you grew up with, or people who know you like to play golf, and they'll reach out. I've also just had friends of friends. I played Vesper Country Club with the father-in-law of a college golf teammate. He kind of found out what I was doing and just reached out and said, "Hey, whenever you want to come play Vesper, let me know." So like you get those extra network of people who want to help, at least in my case, want to help me kind of complete this quest and out of the kindness of their heart offer me a spot to play their golf course, which is incredible. So that's the other way. It's like those are kind of the connections piece, right? That's the one that I think everyone understands. You got to be invited. You got to be a little bit lucky. You got to have the time. And then some other ones that are, maybe a little bit more in your control if it was something you wanted to do. I've played a handful of golf courses just in qualifiers. So if you're interested in playing a Mass Am or playing in a Mass Mid Am or any kind of event that has a state qualifier, sometimes those qualifiers are on private golf courses. I have played, like I said earlier, I played Fall River in a Mass Am qualifier. I've played Hopkins Country Club in a Mid Am qualifier. I played Andover Country Club last year in a Mass Am qualifier. So if you're kind of, that requires you to have a certain handicap and a certain ability to play and a willingness to want to compete and put the ball in the hole 18 times under a little bit of pressure. But that is definitely an option. And we are in February right now. Like those sign-up dates are fast approaching. And then if you qualify, you get to play another one, right? Like if you qualified for the Mass Am last year, you got to play Essex and you got to play it at least twice. That is an incredible perk. If you're a good female player and you qualify for the for the Mass Women's Am this year, you get to go play Taconic. Last year, the women played Dedham Polo. So that's an opportunity if you are up for it, if you're willing to do it, if you want to try it, and if your handicap is high enough. If your handicap is low enough, that's kind of another way to do it. So just entering qualifiers. There's also events, and these are where it starts to get pricey, and auctions and like that side of the world. Something called the New England Series, which I think for $300 you can join the New England Series, and they have all sorts of events throughout the summer that you can just sign up for. You have to then pay your greens fees to get onto some of these golf courses, but they play a lot of really good private courses that if you're willing to, if you're trying to play some private places, that's an option. It costs a pretty penny in some cases. And so if you have a little bit of money, or if you every summer you want to just say, I'm going to join the series and I'm going to play two places, and maybe that puts you back $800. I don't even know because I haven't looked at these, but I know it's $300 to join and then $250 every year after that. And then you have access to a bunch of different events. The other part of that is if you join 1 year and you don't love it, you're done. But maybe you love it, or maybe you meet people in that group who also happen to be members at other places or who are golf sickos. And then suddenly you're in a network again. And that goes back to friends and friends of friends helping you maybe get onto golf courses. So everything kind of almost always comes back to connections. Even in qualifiers, you might end up playing with someone who is a member somewhere else, and you kind of enjoy playing with them, or they enjoy playing with you, and maybe you make a connection there, and you end up playing with them down the road. So there's New England Series is one kind of set of events. Fried Egg Golf, Andy Johnson, Shotgun Start, and his podcast, and he's a kind of a golf architect nerd, and has made a living doing it, and has created this little media company. And he has kind of a membership for $120 that gets you first dibs on some of these events. But at the same time, you do not have to be a member to play in Fried Egg events. You can also just sign up as a person. The opportunity is given a little bit later to people who are not members. So members get first dibs on signing up, but then it's open to the public and you can pay. Again, these are expensive events, and if you're planning on traveling to them, but Friday Golf goes to Essex every year. They've been to Essex the last 2 years. They'll be there again in September. You get to play 36 holes. You play 18, and then you play alternate shot. You get to play you get to meet a bunch of people, some who might come from out of town and some who might be local. But Friday Golf has events all over the country, and so does the Golfers Journal. I'm not sure if the Golfers Journal requires you to be a member to play in their events, but if you subscribe, they have a pretty strong following kind of all over the world. They have a great magazine. Once you're a member, you can join their Discord, which again is like access to hundreds of people who all love golf, some of whom are members of places and are, really kind. I think so. You end up maybe making a friend, meeting somebody, and finding your way onto golf courses that way too. You can kind of peruse the auction world. There's always auctions going on for, First Tee, Youth on Course, National Links Trust. They all have auctions, and if you just time it right, and you get 3 or 4 buddies, and you find a golf course that you can all play, that's another way to get on. I know these aren't super novel or super simple solutions, and some of them cost a bunch of money, but these are kind of the ways that I know that people get on the golf courses. And then the final one, which is kind of leads me to how I got on the country club in 2021, was if you just go and watch an amateur event. I got to play the country club because in 2021, I went to Brayburn and watched the Matt Parziali, Michael Thorbjornsen Mass Am final. And I was walking around, and there are maybe 100 people walking around, and I run into a kid that I went to high school with, and he was younger than I was. I think he was a freshman when I was a senior, so we went there for a year. And he also went to Holy Cross, where I went, and we just started chatting, and I told him what I was kind of up to and that I was on this little quest. And he kind of, gave the perfunctory, like, yeah, I'll get you out to the country club. And of course, that's one of those ones like, okay, well, I'm not banking on that as a promise that I'm going to hold him up to. And lo and behold, like a month later, a college friend of mine, the same kid whose father-in-law took me, this is my friend Pat. His father-in-law is the one who took me to Vesper. Pat and this country club member are friends from college. He went to Holy Cross as well. And Pat was playing up, and they both reached out and said, hey, we're playing the country club. We're playing a member guest. Can you join us? And so going to amateur events without your golf clubs, just go and watch golf. The Mass Am this year is at Framingham Country Club. It is not my favorite golf course. I've played it once. Got to play it in the Ham a couple years ago. It was a fun day. Got to hang out with some friends. Given the fact that Concord and Essex, however, the last 2 hosts of the Mass Am, like Framingham feels a little bit of kind of a step down, to be honest. But if you show up, the thing I can guarantee you is there are going to be people hanging out and watching golf, because Framingham has a kind of young, vibrant, energetic membership who is very proud of their course. And some of them will probably kind of yell at me for what I said about it feeling like a step down from Concord and from Essex as the last 2 hosts. But there will be people out there. If you go on Friday and watch the final, you're going to see some really good golf. You're going to be around a bunch of people who also love golf. And you might see someone. You might meet someone. You might just, again, it goes back to just making connections. So that would be kind of the last. Obviously, that's a kind of a longer shot, and you can't go into it with the intention of getting on to play Framingham or some other private course because you meet a member. But just kind of putting yourself in the mix in some of these things, whether that's an event or winning an auction item or just kind of going to an amateur event to watch some good golf. You're going to meet people. You can start talking about golf, and maybe that's a way to get on to a golf course, go play a qualifier. But those are the ones that I can think of right now as I was, trying to figure out some new novel ideas. And I think the most novel one is, show up to these different amateur events over the course of the summer. Just check the schedule, whether you live in Rhode Island or Connecticut or Massachusetts or whatever. There's always people watching these these final matches. Always people who are proud of their golf course and want to watch the best in the state compete on their golf course. So there will always be people out watching. So those would be my ways: friends of friends, playing qualifiers, checking out some events. Probably the most expensive way to do it, kind of buying your way onto a golf course. But if you do it once every other year, you can see some pretty great places in the course of 10 years. You can play 5 courses that you've never played before that, you never thought you would. So events and auctions, and then just maybe try your luck showing up at a golf course for an amateur event and meeting some people and using it as kind of an opportunity to try to make some connections would be the last one. So those are all the questions I have to answer today. Thanks to everyone who asked one, and looking forward to doing these kind of down the road in weeks when I don't have a guest, and I'm kind of just looking for something to talk about and give people some background on my quest, and talk about some golf courses that I don't always get to talk about too, which was kind of nice. So thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Go check out my newsletter. The link is in the bio if you're listening to this, and we will see you next week.